I'm not gonna keep y'all waiting. So let's get into this breakdown. So the first breakdown, for me personally, one of the scariest movies I watched as a child. This movie, I believe I was 5 years old, 5 or 6 years old when I first seen this movie, The Fog. John Carpenter, 1980. It was part of his trifecta. So he had The Thing, he had Halloween, and then he had The Fog. This was like his trifecta. Oh, then he threw in The Prince of Darkness too. So this was like his tentpole movies to establish like his universe, and pretty much establish himself as one of the greatest horror directors ever. So, all right, so let's get into The Fog. There's some things I kind of want to point out that I didn't even know researching this. So this was kind of based off two true stories. Okay, the first true story this was based off of was called there's a ship called the Princess Augusta. In 1738, it became known as the Palatine. In 19th century accounts, it was John Greenleaf Whittier made a poem about it called the Palatine. This ship crashed off of Block Island in 1738. Okay, let me see. Okay, August 1730, under Captain George Long and a crew of 14, transporting 240 immigrants to English colonies in America. The passengers were German Palatines, natives to the Palatinate region, and this ship was called the Palatine ship. Now, it was headed for Philadelphia, and the voyage was beset by terrible luck. The water supply was contaminated, causing a fever influx that killed 200 of the passengers and half the crew, including Captain Long. Severe storms pushed the ship off course to the north, where the survivors spent 3 months enduring extreme weather and depleting stores. According to the crew's depositions, Brooke forced the passengers to pay for the remaining rations. He evidently tried different routes to Rhode Island and Philadelphia, but the gales pushed the damaged and leaking Augusta to Block Island. It wrecked amid a snowstorm at Sandy Point on the island's northernmost end at 2 p.m. December 27th, 1738. Okay, now, depositions were taken. They buried about 22 who died after the wreck. It's called the Palatine Graves. Authorities took depositions from the crew. It appears the crew faced no charges for their actions, and they and most surviving passengers made it to the mainland. But I want to get to the folklore. Okay, so now here's the folklore. On a Saturday between Christmas and New Year's Eve, there are still sporadic reports from the locals of seeing a burning ship sail past. Tradition states that a German ship carrying immigrants to Philadelphia ran aground during a snowstorm on December 26, 1738, and was stranded near Block Island. Okay. Both legends agreed that a female passenger had refused to leave the ship as it sank, and those who claim... Here's my phone again, listening to me. And those who claim to witness its reappearances say that her screams are heard from the ship. That's the first ghost story The Fog is based off of. The second story is a little bit more true. Is a little bit more true to base. So there was a situation where, hold up, oh shit, it's called Goleta, California, where a bunch of Englishmen basically robbed some settlers for their gold, set them up and killed them. Okay, so when I break down the movie, you'll see the two stories kind of merge into one. So we have the opening scene. We got the old man telling the story. It's 11:55. It is 5 minutes to midnight for the 100th year anniversary of the town's birthday. Okay, this ship called Elizabeth Dane crashed into the rocks, killing everyone. During the fog, that was headed towards what they thought was a campfire. This is going to come back to be important towards the end. All right. The fog was used, was part of the reason why the ship had crashed. Okay. So now we come upon a witching hour. It is the 100-year anniversary of Antonio Bay. At the church, a piece of masonry falls. At the church, Father Malone discovers the diary of his great-grandfather, Father Patrick Malone of 1880. In the diary, it says, April 30th, midnight till 1, belongs to the dead. Good Lord, deliver us. And then all the phones in the town start ringing all at once. The shelves at a grocery store begin to shake and rattle. A gas pump falls to the ground and begins to spill out gasoline. All of the car horns of the cars begin to blare. TV signals go out. Furniture begins to move. And so we have Nick, played by I forget his name. Tom something. So there's a lot of 80s screen queen stars in this movie. Jamie Lee Curtis is in this. Adrienne Barbeau is in this. Tom Jenkins, I think that's his name. So you would recognize a lot of faces in this movie. Okay, so Nick picks up Elizabeth as they're driving. Their car windows explode all of a sudden. Okay. DJ Stevie, played by Adrienne Barbeau. She gets a call from the weather department about a fog bank moving in the direction of a trolley ship. Okay. The fog bank speeds up upon the trolley ship. There's bright lights emanating from the fog. The fog surrounds the ship. It short circuits the ship's generators. And then the men come out on the bow to watch the ship Elizabeth Dane pass by. Then it disappears. And then standing on the bow of the deck are 3 figures with hooks. Okay. The 2 men are then stabbed with swords and hooks. 1 figure stalks the 3rd man. So the scene is with the 3rd guy. He's down in the bunker, right? And you see the flash, and then you see the 1 figure, right? And then it goes dark, and you see another flash, and it gets closer, all right? And then you see another flash, and he's right up on the dude. Listen, you have to watch it. It's the mood, the music right before they get killed. It's everything, right? So he grabs the dude, he pokes him in the eye 2 times, so they're all dead. All right. So then DJ Stevie gets another call that the fog bank has moved in the direction and is moving against the wind. Nick and Elizabeth are back at Nick's place. The fog hits his house. A shadowy figure then knocks at the door with the hook. Right? So then Nick gets up to go answer the door. His clock shatters. It's the end of the witching hour. So before he can open the door, the figure was about to stab him with the hook. The witching hour ends, and then everybody disappears. Okay? So the next night, Stevie's son finds a piece of driftwood that says Dane. It's a piece of the ship, of the ghost ship. Nick, his buddy, is one of the sailors that got killed out on the trolley. He's looking for 3 sailors from the night before. The Antonio Bay prepares for its 100th year birthday. The Coast Guard is looking for the missing ship. Nick goes out and then finds the missing ship. It's called the Seagrass. Sandy and Kathy. Kathy is the town's event coordinator. She is married to one of the dead sailors that got killed, but she doesn't know he's dead yet. So she's prepping for the town's birthday celebration. All right, and Sandy is her assistant. So then Kathy says, yeah, her dog was barking the night before at the water and growling at the water all night long. She couldn't understand why. And then Sandy mentions her car alarm had went off and that her furniture had moved by itself. Okay? So then Sandy and Kathy go visit Father Malone. Malone then reads to them from his great-grandfather's diary. Captain Blake had leprosy, but he had gold. Captain Blake was looking to establish a leper colony. Okay. So then while he's reading the diary to them, Nick goes to investigate the ship. All the gauges are broken. Then it goes back into the scene where he reads from the diary. Malone's grandfather and Captain Blake had a deal. The deal was he was going to let them have a colony like 1 mile from their town. Okay, that was the original deal. April 21st, the grandfather plus 5 others, the 6, planned to kill Captain Blake and his crew and steal the gold to fund his church and township. This is this dude's great-grandfather. Back at the ship, one of the dead men, his body is discovered with his eyes gouged out. The grandfather had set a false fire for the ship to follow. Remember the very beginning, the old man's telling the story of the ship that followed a campfire and it crashed upon the rocks. It was the great-grandfather. They set a fire and purposely led the ship astray for them to crash into the rocks. It's called off of Spivey Point. The fog bank helped with the plan. So then Father Malone calls the celebration a travesty. They're honoring murderers. My phone is really, really listening to me right now. This is not cool. Kathy, Father Malone, and Sandy
Sorry, this app does not support the feature.
Stop listening to me. Okay. Kathy, Father Malone, and Sandy pinpoint the time when things got weird. Malone says Antonio Bay has a curse on it. Kathy is dismissive. She doesn't believe it. All right. So then Stevie, the DJ, is at the station when the wooden piece of ship that she got from her son, it begins to bleed water. And then the tape recorder next to it plays a message. And then the wooden piece says 6 must die before it catches fire. Stevie puts out the fire. The driftwood is perfect. There's no damage to the wood. Okay. Stevie calls her son about where he got the piece of wood from. He said it was at first a gold coin, then it turned into a piece of wood. So then the coroner takes the body from the ship, and his lungs are filled with water and algae. So as Nick and the coroner are talking, they leave Elizabeth in the room with the dead body. The dead body then gets up, grabs a scalpel, and then walks towards Elizabeth before falling down in front of her. And then as it fell down, it scribbled the number 3 into the floor with the scalpel. Kathy's husband is still missing. So then Stevie talks to Nick. She tells him about the driftwood as the fog moves in. The fog surrounds the weather station. Stevie tells Dan, the weather guy, hey, the fog is glowing. There's lights glowing from the fog. The power then goes out at the station. Dan, the weatherman, goes to check while Stevie's on the phone. So Stevie's on the phone like, no, don't open the door. Get away. There's something in the fog. So Dan's like, it's nothing. So there's a knock at the door. And so then he opens the door. There's nothing there. He turns around and then he gets grabbed up out the fog. Oh my God. Okay. So then during the town commencement, Stevie asks for the sheriff. But the phone lines are then disrupted by the fog. So now the fog is moving into town. They're about to finish everybody off. The fog shows up at Stevie's house where her son and Mrs. Colbert's, the babysitter, are located. Stevie frantically is pleading to anyone over the airwaves that's listening to go to the house to go get her son, because she says her son's in danger. All right. So the house is surrounded by the fog, and then the lights are, flickering in the fog. All right. And then the music is playing. So this is not helping the situation. All right. There's a knock at the door. And then Nick and Elizabeth hear this on the radio, and they make their way towards the house. Mrs. Colbert sends Andy to his room. And then there's a knock at the door again. Now, mind you, they're knocking with the hook in their hands. Okay. So Mrs. Colbert opens the door. As soon as Andy goes into his room, she's dragged out the fucking door. They drag her ass out the door, right? Okay, so wait. And okay, so then Andy locks the door in his room. The fog starts coming in underneath the crack of the door in the crack of his into his room, and then it starts knocking on his door. And of course, Andy, the little boy's like, "Who's there, Mrs. Colbritz?" So then, the Hook punches through the door. So the dead sailors is breaking the door down to get to Andy. Here comes Nick. He elbows the window to his room, pulls the boy out as the dead sailor walks into the room and takes a swipe at Andy. Holy shit. Now, mind you, I'm 5 years old watching this shit. I'm scared as fuck. Okay, it's late night. Like I said, if you're a little kid watching this is scary. Okay? Okay. So then they get to the truck. The fog surrounds the truck. Elizabeth is trying to put the truck into gear, but the fog is keeping the truck in place. So as the figures move towards the truck and surround the truck, Nick's like, "Come on, let's go." And she's struggling to put the thing in gear. And then they get up on the truck, and then she finally hits reverse, and she guns it in reverse. And then, okay, so then Stevie announces on the airwaves, the fog is coming into town. Avoid this part of town. Avoid that part of town. So what the fog is doing is forcing everybody to go to the church. Okay, it's cutting off escape routes, and it's forcing everybody into one central location, the church. So she tells everybody, get to the church. Get to the church. Okay? So then the group all meet up at the church. Okay, and they start deducing who are the six, who are the offspring of the six. So the 3 dead sailors, they were 3 offsprings. That leaves 3. And then who was Mrs. Colbritz was number 4, and Dan the Weatherman was number 5. That leaves Father Malone number 6. He's the last man standing. All right. So then the fog surrounds the church. The church is being broken into as Kathy and Father Blake retrieve the Golden Cross. The Golden Cross, it's a huge cross made of gold. It was, as they read further into the diary, they discovered it's in the walls of the church. The dead sailors chase Stevie through so part of the fog breaks off, and it goes to the lighthouse to go get Stevie. Okay? Not that she was part of the 6, but they're pissed off spirits. They're about to kill everybody. Okay? So then Father Malone brings the Golden Cross out to Captain Blake. So he goes onto the pew, and you see the 4 sailors in the back, and you see Captain Blake in the front. And they got these piercing red eyes. They're all pretty much in black, shadowy figures. The only thing you see is their fucking red eyes. My God, I'm telling you, as a kid, this is a scary, scary scene. So then Stevie, fighting for her life, she climbs to the top, on the top of the lighthouse. Father Malone then offers Captain Blake the gold cross and his life. He says, "Take me," because he knows what he has to atone for his great grandfather's sin. So he's ready to get whacked for it. Stevie is then stabbed in the shoulder with the hook. Blake takes hold of the gold, and then the gold heats up and turns bright and starts to heat up. All right. So then, right before Stevie gets the killing blow, the sailors disappear. It leaves Nick, Elizabeth, Sandy, Kathy, Andy, Steve, and Father Malone alive. The fog then retreats back into the ocean. Stevie goes on air about the fog and warns ships at the sea. She says, "If you see the fog, avoid the fog. Be careful of the fog." So then Father Malone's like, "Well, why not me? Why not me?" Everybody leaves the church. So it's just Father Malone by himself. Then the fog comes back. Starts seeping in underneath the door sill, right? And the lights are flickering. He goes back, Father Malone goes back out to the pew. And there's 4 sailors standing right in front of him. Right? As Father Malone turns his head, Captain Blake is behind him, mid-swing with his sword. And as soon as Father Blake turns around, he decapitates him. Oh, with the piercing red eyes. Oh, I'm telling you, as a kid, this was horrifying. This was a horrifying movie as a kid to me. And the fact that you killing people on church grounds. This was a horrifying movie to me as a kid. Like, even to this day, I can't watch that movie like at 2, 3 in the morning. Because of the eyes, man. The eyes of the dead sailors. So that was... that was The Fog, 1980. John Carpenter. All right. Okay. That was that. I didn't know this was based off a true story. Those two stories. Okay, my next